Hey guys, thanks for downloading this episode of the Fine Home Building Podcast. This is Justin. I just wanted to circle back and let you know that I did not forget about my promise to get Shawn Van Dyke on the show. Now, we have him sitting at the table with us. We were originally going to release this thing as part of our PCBC coverage, but we felt like it ended up being such a deep conversation that we wanted to just separate it out and make it its own weekly episode. We wanted to have time to get the video in production and get it back before we're back in the office. So I want you to sit back, soak this up, and definitely go over to finehomebuilding.com/podcast so you can check out the full video of Shawn's talk. And also visit ShawnVanDyke.com. So without further ado, let's get started.
I think that probably started with the very first contractor. You know, way back in the days when you would have to like throw a stone into the contractor's cave and he would come out. No one's throwing the stone back. That's probably always been, in the history of contracting.
All right, everybody, welcome to the Fine Home Building Podcast. We are living up to our promise of nailing down Shawn Van Dyke. We got him. We sat him down at the table here with us, Brian and I.
That makes it sound like I've been so elusive.
Well, it's more like we've been promising it.
Well, and the fact
we didn't
that,
ask you.
Yeah, I'm not in the Northeast, and it takes us all the stars to align to get at one of these conferences or whatever. So
here we are at the end of the day, last day of the show.
Yeah.
End of the day, and we got you.
Yep, and it was good because Brian and I got to sit in and hear your talk about solving for the skills gap, which is sort of inadvertently became the theme of the show for us. And I say not inadvertently, I mean, we have the Keep Craft Alive movement. Everybody in the audience knows about that. If they don't, it's keepcraftalive.org. And it's a movement about bringing awareness to the lack of skilled trade and, kind of trying to help in some regard. But what we're seeing, Brian and I, we spend some time at the Fine Home Building booth at PCBC at the show we're at. And a lot of local builders coming up and complaining about, I just can't find help. I can't find help, but and when I do find somebody, they don't know how to do anything. And, what are we going to do about it? And we say, well, we got this organization that's helping out. And, we don't know either. It's like we're trying. We're trying to kind of raise awareness. Everybody's responding. Everybody is in the same place. But it seems like we're all stuck in the poor me phase. Are you seeing that same thing on your end?
Yeah, that's what a lot of the speech was about. I use a quote at the beginning of the speech. It says, when everyone is responsible, then no one is responsible. Meaning if everybody thinks somebody else is working on something, then they're just there's no accountability.
Right.
And I was making the point in the speech that your business is going to hold you accountable. It's bad. Like, you're not going to be able to do work if you can't find people, and that's what I'm saying is, so there's, like you were saying, there's a little bit of complaining going around. So what do we do? Well, it's not there. You got to create it.
Yeah, it's like everyone's waiting for the big bailout or something.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
Like somebody's going to figure this out and
trade
save
schools
us.
are good, and they're one piece of the puzzle. And what I was saying in the speech was, solve your own skills gap.
Yeah, you kind of said, to a room full of builders, you kind of said, forget about this what we're looking at as a national problem and run your business.
Yeah,
in a
and
way.
I understand where the mentality comes from. And it comes from, I was talking to some other builders about this. It's like, I remember when Zip Wall came out, right? It was revolutionary, and a lot of other building products, right? It had the building science, but builders were like, putting that on my house.
Yeah.
I'm not getting sued when there's a class action. That thing needs to be proven. So it's like there's this thing right in front of us, but I'm not saying that's wrong. I'm saying, you got to be very careful. Something's got to be proven, proven to work. So the contractors, and I throw myself in that when I was running construction businesses too, we're very slow because we're very watchful, right? We got to see how this thing kind of plays out. And so we're like, and that mentality is kind of leaked over into how we look at a lot of things. Why our websites look 20 years old. Some of the language our contracts are 20 years old. We're not kind of up with on some technology or whatever. But it's because we have to be cautious because we're on the line for the houses that we build. But you don't have 10 more years to wait for somebody else to figure out the skills gap.
Right.
Solve it yourself. right? You're not going to find those people. So go. But other people are hiring. Other people are getting jobs. So, just figure out what are they doing? They're giving them. They're painting a picture of what it's like to work at their, in their companies.
So you had a really interesting, and I'm going to blank on the words, and I'm going to ask you to give me the words or give us the words, but you had a really interesting look at the hiring process and how it's typically done, and maybe I think even how you said you did it for a while, and then a new way to look at it. And you had a few words that put it in perspective.
So I screwed up the hiring process, and this is what I see most construction companies. This is their hiring process. They hire, they hope, and then they hang on.
Right.
Yep.
Right. So we hire when we get desperate. We hope that it works out, and we hang on way too long after it doesn't work out. And it's that hanging on that people see. Like, oh, you have a really bad employee. The construction industry sucks because they have people like that were, and you're just like, yeah, but but I'm a really nice guy, and we got some other really nice guys. Yeah. We just got desperate and hired that one, and he was the wrong one, and now we had to let him go.
Or blaming yourself. I'm not a good enough leader. I'm not doing a good job. I need to reinvest in this guy and get him better. And
So we take that process, the hire, hope, and hang on, just change it slightly to recruit, hire, and train. So after, I say, we recruit the right people, you hire the best people, then you can train them.
Right.
And the hope, hire, and hang on, training never comes into it.
Yeah.
It's only if you get lucky.
Yeah.
Somewhere down the road, or maybe that guy will train themselves. But when you make training part of your hiring process, saying we're going to recruit the right people, and again, what I'm talking about recruiting now is not people with skill. They don't exist.
Right.
Or they already have a job.
Right.
So it's like if you want a fastball pitcher and he's already playing for another team, guess what you're going to have to do? You're going to have to recruit him and pay him more. Like, you're not going to get the guy to make a lateral move unless you've got something else to offer him. There are some really good, skilled tradespeople out there working jobs, and they hate their job.
Right.
So they might make a lateral move, but you got to show them that they're not just trading one kind of crazy for another kind of crazy.
Right.
And that was kind of the point of the speech, too, is,
and I mean, it sort of makes sense. Like I don't think it's a surprise to anybody if you want to get a more talented person, you might have to pay more money, but I think it will be a surprise to some people that they don't have to maybe approach it that way, that maybe they could just set up a different culture or offer a future where the current employer is not offering that person anywhere to move to. Like, look, this is what I can pay you. It's the same as what you're making now, but here's our plan for the next 5 years, and I want you to be a part of where we're going to grow into, and this is what it's going to look like when we get there.
Right.
And that's like, nobody wants to be stagnant.
Yeah, and so it's like, how do we put that into place and get people to either make lateral moves? I say, as part of this strategy is say, hey, you want to make $25 an hour or $30 an hour, whatever your position is. Mm-hmm. That's just a negotiating thing, and let's say that guy wants $30 an hour, but you pay 25. Okay, well, you might have to pay him 30, but if you do, the safety net just got a lot smaller. Meaning, if you come in here at $25 an hour, we're going to work on these things and train you in these ways, and we're going to evaluate your job position over the next 8 weeks. Oh, you want $30 an hour? No problem. I'll call your bluff. You got 2 weeks to accomplish all this because we got to make money on you. Mm-hmm. That's the whole point that we're in business. So I'm not real comfortable paying the $30 an hour because I don't see it, but I'm recruiting. Maybe you've got, you got a fastball or a curveball up your sleeve that I don't know about. But either way, it's like, when we hire, the other side of that is to say someone that maybe they're $25 an hour, $30 an hour, whatever, and you agree, yep, that's good. The value's there. With driving our businesses, our construction business, and creating those opportunities, showing that path, like I was talking about, is saying if a year from now you're still making $25, that's going to be a problem for me. I don't want you. I want you making $30 an hour. Do you want to make $30 an hour? And once you make $30 an hour, do you want to make 70 grand a year? Because I might need you as a project manager. So not everybody is cut out or wants to go in that path, but at least give them the path.
Right.
So not only to say, like, here's what you're going to make today. If you're still making this a year from now, that's a problem. It could be, because I need you to be pushing yourself. And that's the culture that you're talking about.
Okay, so, but this reminds me of something you had in your presentation with the math, when you were doing a comparison of going to college versus going to trade school. And not, as you said in the speech, not because you're pushing anybody to do one or the other, but just kind of taking a look at the math and how
Being
it
aware.
works out. Yeah. And, you know, I will try to summarize where you were at, but it was essentially you end up on average with the same salary if you go either route, either going to college or going to trade school and getting a job. But the amount of debt that you're incurring while going to college is much higher because it's more expensive to go to a
Right.
4-year program at the cost that they are. But in your math, you were figuring on a very consistent every year pay rate. So, you know, when you extend it out to being 52 years old, you know, one person's making this, the other person's making that. And, you know, the point being mathematically, the guy who went to college is making on average about the same as the guy who went to trade school.
Yeah.
But that's without factoring in any changes of salary. So how do you, and I believe somebody raise their hand and asked about opportunity cost, right?
Yeah.
So sort of what is the answer to that? I mean, is there more growth opportunity in one, or is the answer,
that's where the math and numbers get really, you know, really fuzzy because what is opportunity? You create your own opportunities depending
Right.
on what you do. But I would say if you want to run that out, you're probably going to find the solution that you're looking for, depending on what side of the fence, or, you know, what side of the aisle that you're
Right.
kind of on. Because I can make the math work out a little bit. That's why I kind of stopped there and just saying these are averages, and if we project this out over 30 years, yeah, obviously people are going to get raises. Obviously, you're going to have other things that increase your value to the company. But just trying to keep things really simple. But if you're going to do that and run that out, then you also have to factor in that I do think that there is a bigger opportunity for someone to own and start their own business in the trades than I do in getting a college degree. Because I think you're trained to, like, hey, we go get a job. In the trades, it's like, man, I know how to frame a house. And I've been doing it, and I do it better than my boss. I'm going to go out and do some side work, and before you know it, you're a business owner.
Yeah.
Right.
I think that the opportunities to own your own business in the trades is much higher than, and again, I could be wrong. I don't have any statistics to back this up.
You also put that debt in, I believe you used the word risk.
Yeah,
like
it's
taking
risk.
on that debt is a risk. And if you're saddled with debt, you're going to have a hard time starting a business.
no matter what.
No matter what. Whether you had the degree or not.
Yeah.
Like that becomes a problem to starting a business.
The other thing, I'm not advocating either way. I'm just trying to put the information out there. But if I really want to be honest about the numbers, most likely you're not going to incur, and someone will comment after I say this and be like, oh no, you're wrong. But most likely you're not going to incur much debt at all going the trade route because you're going to get paid on the job as an apprentice.
Right.
It's almost, I can't say it for certain, but it's pretty much a debt-free way to get to that $42,000 a year average salary.
Right.
You could spend those 2 years and you're going to actually get paid. See, I don't even count that. I don't even factor that in.
Yeah.
If you add that fact that you're probably going to be, I mean, if you're making $18-20 an hour, that's $36-40 a year, right there, entry level for 2 years while you're going to school. That's $80,000. Say you're working part-time, that's $40,000. You've just paid for that education and then some. So I don't, like, you know, people are like, oh, opportunity cost, and figure out all the numbers and show me how the math works. I'm like, if you want to consider the math, you got to consider it equally on both sides.
And to put this into context in terms of your presentation, this was the portion of your talk where you were suggesting, I believe, and tell me if I'm wrong, but you were suggesting that, you know, the idea of presenting the trade route as a viable opportunity to young people who are at that junction when they're just choosing where to go after high school. And just like, so numbers aside, it's as an industry and as a society and as a culture saying there's also this option and this is viable.
Yeah.
Right.
I just kind of want to say, hey, if you're considering going to college, consider the debt that you're going to incur, and then it's risky.
Right.
Yeah. And then also consider that 40% of every student that enrolls in college doesn't graduate. If you're
it's a huge number.
And what I really want to get over is that stereotype saying, "Oh, you didn't go to college." I'd like to put the message out there that someone starts saying, "Heck yeah, I didn't go to college. I didn't need to."
Right.
I was part of that 40% that was going to leave flunk out, or I'm just not interested. See, that's before running out the opportunity cost. Make sure that you include, that guy was kind of like, I want to see the numbers, I want to see the statistics. I felt like he was kind of, and I wish I had those, but I'm like, if you really want to dig into it, then dig into that 40% of students, because people think, oh, you just weren't good enough.
Right.
But some percentage of them were like, I didn't want to be here.
Right. Only option they were shown.
Only option they were shown, and now they realized, something. So that's what I'm about. Being aware, you're most likely going to incur some debt, and there's some risk involved with that. And some people are risk averse, and some people aren't, and that's fine. And then also 40% chance you're not going to graduate. If that's speaking to you a little bit deeper, all right, let's go a little bit deeper. If you make it through all of that, then here's how the numbers work. It's about the same, salary-wise. And then here's all this information. What do you really want to do? What do you think you want to do? Because you could go to college and get some education and put that towards a technical certificate or some other type of post-secondary education in 2 years and feel accomplished like we complete. And then you're HVAC technician, you're an electrician, you're whatever. You're on to that next part of your career. I just want to be. That's awareness.
Yeah.
Be aware.
So you approached it as kind of like 3 myths that people need to understand, and that was number one. That one we just went through.
Let's see. Myth number 1. Gosh, I should probably. The only path. The only path to a good job is through a college campus.
Right.
And showing that 65% of all jobs in the future, that Georgetown study, don't require a college degree. Now, most of that 65% do require some post-secondary education.
Right.
But most jobs in the future, and this study was projecting out to 2020. It was done like 4 years ago. So it's like 2 years away. That we're living in the future.
There.
We're there. You won't necessarily need a college degree. The second myth was the cost of the education. And then the third myth was the value of white-collar jobs. And I'm just showing that white-collar jobs are not going to be around like they were 20 years ago. Yeah.
Well, before we jump into the white-collar thing, I'm just curious. I mean, Brian, you're just sending your son to college in the fall. Did you get any, and not that your experience or your son's experience will be a representative example of the whole country, but I mean, what was the conversation there with him and school? Was it, because we talk a lot about the push used to be go to college, that's your path. Yeah. Is it still like that
I think in school it is. In his school it was. There was a culture of whether it was from the school staff or whether it was from his friend group. I think there was still this culture of that's the path. Although, there were they have to do senior project, and there were plenty of students whose senior projects were about moving into a trade. Yeah. And they did research and stuff to move. They weren't on a college path. So while I felt like that's what where Sam was getting encouraged, maybe I didn't see the whole picture, and I'm not in the school all the time. Yeah. It's funny though. My son ended up in a way he's going to a 4-year college to get a bachelor's degree, but in a way, he's also going to trade school, because what got him on a college path was one very specific thing that he wants to do, and it's a very technical thing. Yep. And he's not a real academic guy. He's not interested in the whole liberal arts thing. Yep. He wants to learn this one thing, and the 4-year degree is where he's going to learn that thing. So it's not. And I think there's a fine line, right, between those that are going to school to explore and not sure what they're going to do, or maybe just going because it's the only thing to do, and then those that are going for, I want to do this thing, and this is the avenue to get there, nurse or engineer or whatever it is. And then all college is like a trade school in a way, because you're learning a very specific skill. So, but that's not the path for everybody. Yeah. So it's a weird thing. Like I mean, we can't speak for everybody, but I know that at Fine Homebuilding, when we're hiring people, I couldn't care less what college you went to. I don't even look on the resume. I mean, maybe as like a point of conversation, like, oh, you went here, that's interesting. What did you like? But I don't look at a resume and go, oh, you went to a community college? Yeah, pass. And I never have understood why. I guess in other worlds it's different, but for us, I guess you can't imagine that. So when you get down to Shawn's point that he made in the presentation of, it really doesn't matter what you did you say? What you learn, it's what you can do. Is that how you phrased it? Yeah. Society, the world does. There are some professions where they'll pay you for what you know. Yes, no, right. So hey, you got this degree. It's X amount of dollars
just because you have that pedigree. Like
Yep.
there are those type of jobs. But in general, construction's a perfect industry that it doesn't care what you know, but it will pay you for what you can do.
Yes.
Yeah.
So
Exactly.
when you're hiring, also in this day and age, when I was looking at resumes, I cared less about what you said your experience was. I mean, but I want to know, what can you do now? Are
Right.
you better than you were? And why are you leaving that other job, or why are you looking here? Because we're going to pay you a lot of money, and we're going to give you great opportunities if you can do some stuff for us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And helping people understand, like, look, I want to pay you that too. Here's what you need to bring in terms of added business for us to be able to do that.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not just being a bad guy, not giving you an extra $5 because I'm stingy.
Yeah.
Like, you're not bringing me $5 worth of extra stuff.
Yeah, and you know, the interesting thing for any of like the young people who may be listening, who are working towards the trades and are going, you know, trying to find jobs and are going on job interviews it took me a long time to learn this in my career, and I learned it mostly from becoming a manager and interviewing people. But if you're in the trades and you're getting jobs and you're getting your first couple of jobs, you should be asking them what you're going to learn, and what they're going to get, what they're going to offer you,
Yep.
and what the possibilities are for you. And I've just, you know, I saw people come in, sit across the table from me, and some people were just quiet and, you know, had a few questions, but really just, you could tell they just wanted a job. And
Yeah.
other people that would come in, they'd be like, you know, what's going to happen here? How are you going to train me? How are you going to onboard me?
Yeah.
Where am I going to be in 5 years? And
It's almost like flipping the script with a little confidence, like, you need me
Right.
as a hire. So, you know, pitch me.
Yeah.
Why do you want me to work for you?
Yeah,
You know?
and you're going to be psyched to have that person across
Oh,
the table.
yeah.
from
Oh,
you.
yeah.
You're going to want to hire that.
Yeah, when
yeah.
you find someone that interviews you,
Yeah.
after you've just been going through, you know, person after person, or not finding anybody, and they ask you, and you can tell they're genuinely interested. Like when we would interview for lead carpenters, and we would, you know, guys would geek out on the technical kind of stuff, but then they started asking like day-to-day operations. How do you guys like to do this? You know, and it was very like kind of organizational and
Yeah.
setup, and like how do you push the pace? And we could just tell, like, this guy's asking us how we push the pace because he's concerned about productivity. This
Yeah.
guy's not somebody that's just going to watch the clock. He wants to get in, do the work, and, you know, and
Yeah.
we're just like, oh, and that's the kind of things where you're like, oh crap, this is a 2-hour interview. We're supposed to meet for 30 minutes. I'm sorry. Obviously, we want to hire you.
Yeah.
Because you're just like, it's just a right fit. You guys are
Right.
thinking the same.
Yeah. It's okay. So anyway, I interrupted you. We were talking about I believe myth number 2. We were pushing towards the future. You know, and I know that I think that was the one where you got into a little bit of automation.
Yeah.
And how careers are going to be, or, you know, which jobs are going to be potentially suffering more from shifting over to you
Yeah,
know,
and I've
Disney
been,
automatons.
Yeah, I've been thinking about this because I just see it happening more and more. And really, for me, it started when my kids were getting older, and I realized, oh my gosh, they don't watch TV anymore. They watch Netflix and YouTube. TV to them is like radio is to us, right? It's just it's that level. And I thought, man, these things are being replaced, and I wonder what's going to be next. So I always started looking at what's going to be next. And again, it's not necessarily original thought. I just heard other people talking about artificial intelligence, and I'm like, at first you're like, construction, we're 20 years behind. We don't have to worry about that. But then when you really start looking at artificial intelligence is everywhere, algorithms are controlling everything. Then I started really, really thinking about it and researching it. I just realized that, and started seeing the trends are that white collar jobs are going to be replaced because where our artificial intelligence is really good at replacing extremely repetitive tasks.
Yes.
And it can learn very quickly in various changes from the baseline of that repetitive task. And when you start thinking about that, and I use in the speech there, I talk about finance, law, accounting, and even medicine. You know, when you're diagnosing someone of a disease, there's a protocol that you go through.
Right.
You don't need a doctor
Right.
doesn't need to learn that anymore. Oh my gosh, I just said that. We're gonna have to edit that out because you're gonna get a bunch of medical professionals like, you're crazy. But
To a certain, you know, with a let's suspend disbelief here for a minute. What you're saying in in theory, is absolutely true. I mean, they're learning a set templated process for diagnosing.
There's a study
programmed.
there's a study that was done. It was a study of like radiologists, and they looked at thousands of radiologists or radiologists, whatever their data.
Yep. And
then they put it up against a computer program. Not only the computer ran through all of the radiologist stuff in seconds, which took the radiologist years, you know, the same number, that the computers were able to accurately diagnose the problem at a higher rate, like almost flawless, because it can be they can run through all of that, where humans make mistakes, and that's the kind of stuff that you're seeing medicine being replaced, is that, and I say in the speech that there's robots in the operating room to make things more precision, and to enhance surgical procedures. Put artificial intelligence on that. It sounds Disney amateur, but that's where it's going. But doctors will still be, and this isn't my quote, I got it out of a book, but they won't be hiring doctors for their medical expertise. They'll be hiring them for their bedside manner, the thing that's uniquely human. And that phrase to me stuck out. I said, that's where the construction industry has the advantage, because we're not there certainly are 3D printing of building, we're seeing that
in factory buildings,
but that's still, those factories usually are still here in the U.S.
Yes,
They're not being shipped overseas, or they're just not totally automated. And because even in production buildings, very repetitive tasks. When you really break down those tasks, it's very, very difficult to do that. So people will talk about the driverless cars.
Yep.
They're still going to have a person in them to do some of the human things about that, but they're just not going to have to pay a driver. It's just going to be a different sort of thing.
Yeah, to your doctor example, I wonder if it will end up being, a computer scans you up and down, sees, the thing on your skin, your temperature, your blood pressure, all that, and goes, based on being connected to everything that's ever happened medically in the world, I think it's a 98% chance that this is the thing you need to focus on. And the doctor just goes, all right, we'll start there, and executes it. I wonder if the future of building, I'm thinking in terms of remodeling, has that potential, though. Either it's you take a picture of this situation, or you plug in these variables, and I don't know what the questions are, but it narrows the likelihood of things happening. It asks the right questions to get the kind of answers.
I've said this before. You're not going to go out to the site to meet with your clients. They're going to shoot a video from their phone.
Yeah.
It's going to scan the room. I'm talking remodeling.
Yeah.
It's going to send you that video with dimensions, and they'll have made their selections right there. And it's all done on your app or some app that gives you that information.
Right.
So there is like, you got to, my kids, when they buy everything else online through an app, and I was just saying this in the social media hub over there, is you think they're not going to buy construction services the same way? You're wrong. That's the old contractor mentality of like, no. And now we're doing, you're seeing it in building systems and building science. What's been out there for 20 years is starting to be adopted. I'm telling you, if you're not selling your work as a contractor online through an app, on a phone, or through a hologram, whatever the next thing is going to be, you're going to miss. You're going to miss out.
I might have said this on the podcast, the last one we did, but I visited a Toll Brothers community yesterday. They've sold 250 units, 250 homes. They don't have one built yet. All virtual reality. You go into the sales office, you put on the goggles, you walk around the house.
Yeah.
And they've sold 250 of them.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and there's again, it's going. That's where the trends are going. There's still going to be plenty of houses out there for a really long time where you got to go and figure out. That's not going away
and you
anytime
absolutely
soon.
could still be a completely disconnected builder who doesn't even have a cell phone and wants to just build like their grandpappy did, and you can probably do that to a certain extent.
Yeah, and that's probably the name of the company, by the way. Grandpappy
Might be
Construction.
Justin's future.
Yeah.
Just trying to see if it's viable. I don't.
He was testing you out there.
Just trying to see if Shawn's all
He
right.
wanted to see if you'd be all right with his business model.
No, I've even said that. I've said that too. That there's always room for nostalgia.
Yes.
And if you want to be a nostalgic builder, great.
Yeah. Especially when it comes to service.
But
Brian and I were talking about that. Start with the bar is low. Like, I can't get a contractor to call me back. Let's start there.
Yeah, that's part
Like-
of I was thinking that's part of the skills gap. That's part of the fact that the consumer, the homeowner, we hear that all the time. Like,
Yeah.
I can't find a contractor that will return my calls.
Yeah. Yeah. Why isn't somebody solving that somehow?
Yeah.
Like, where's the technology that makes that
Well,
part
that's
easier?
called a phone.
No, well, it's not. it's the ability to, and maybe it's maybe it's just funneling people to your website. Maybe it goes back to that, qualifying them in a different way.
Right.
You know, having them run through a set of filters that kind of, I know Tyler Grace does this pretty well on his website, where even if it's somebody he meets in a coffee shop that wants to do some work, he still directs them to his website
Yep.
Yeah.
to go through that way. And it's just
Yeah.
kind of a way to standardize everything.
Well, and it's another thing that the builders, contractors, remodelers can do to change the impressions of the industry
Right.
and what it is
Yeah.
by returning phone calls and being professional, having a
Yeah.
website that doesn't look like it's from 1989.
But again, you don't have to change the industry. You just
No, just yourself.
I mean,
Just yourself.
In fact, it doesn't help you to change the industry in that case.
Right.
It's better if you just change yourself
Right.
because you're going to stand out.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean
Um,
that. I heard somebody say, "Hey, if you're in construction, you can beat 75% of your competition just by answering the phone or returning phone calls." At that, like I said, at a certain basic level, it's like someone can say, you know, man, it takes me 40 minutes to walk to the grocery store. I wish somebody had invented something that, and like, yeah, it's called a car.
Yeah.
Go get one. You know, so when you're saying like, oh, they can't call me back, yeah, you're calling the wrong people.
Yeah.
You're just calling the wrong people. Yeah,
Right.
So there's some responsibility there on the
Sure.
homeowner's part to do a little bit of research.
your research,
but,
get a
you know,
referral
but they
from a
don't know.
friend.
Hey, you're a contractor and
Right.
you got a website and all that, you know, and they call
Yeah.
you up and you don't call. You know,
Yeah.
that's.
Yeah.
I think that probably started with the very first contractor. You know, way back in the days when you would have to like throw a stone into the contractor's cave and he would come out. No one's throwing the stone back. That's
Yeah.
probably always been, you know, in the history of contracting.
Well, not
So-
only that, but like we're complaining about it now. Like, you have your phone in your pocket. Like 15, 20 years ago,
there's no
you had to
excuse.
make all your calls in the morning before
Right.
you went, or at home at the end of the day when you got back. Like,
Yeah.
there was no, I'm short, 12 2x4s. Let me call them in right now, or like go online and order them and have the
Yeah.
delivery
Yeah.
or track my order. It's
We had a
such
this is
complainers.
totally off topic, but we had a rotary phone in our house. That's how old I am.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right? Like, hey, you got to dial somebody. Dang it, that's going to take some time.
Yeah.
And you had to memorize phone numbers.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, oh, yeah.
Anyway, oh my gosh, I'm totally derailing this, but I was just thinking that.
Yeah. Anyway, so let's
phone
go
thing.
to let's
I
do.
think a lot of our listeners will be able to relate.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Let's do myth 3. What was the third myth? Was that the third one?
Yeah,
Yeah.
white collar jobs are going away.
Yeah,
yeah.
that was the automation
Yeah, so
one.
it was the path, the myth to a good job, the cost of education, and then the white collar jobs.
Yeah.
The myth was white collar jobs will always be in high demand, and the artificial intelligence is actually replacing a lot of white collar jobs and blue collar jobs. Really, the collars are going away now.
Yeah.
And I was so excited to hear that because I felt like, man, it's just not being said that much. Artificial intelligence in construction, like the things aren't equating. But recently, Malcolm Gladwell, he was on a podcast with Adam Grant. They were kind of debating a couple of different things, and I can't remember how it came up, but Malcolm Gladwell said the exact same thing, saying that because they were talking about artificial intelligence, and he said, I don't think anybody that has a blue collar job has anything to worry about artificial intelligence because most blue collar jobs are extremely uniquely human, but white collar jobs. And I'm paraphrasing here. He's like, that's where you're going to see the biggest change in artificial intelligence. And I was like,
Yeah.
yes,
Yeah.
thank you.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's pretty cool. And you just watch it and
It's gonna
see.
it's gonna blow a lot of people's hair back. A lot of people that are gonna when they're retired, what's the statistic? 10,000 baby boomers retire
a
day.
day.
That's remarkable.
That's insane.
Yeah.
But and I don't know what age group it's really going to start to take hold. But those people who are going to sit back and go, geez, I could have sworn like white collar like that. I thought we were preaching the right thing. I thought we were doing the right thing, pushing everybody down this path, but now none of them have jobs and they're all over here anyway. So they put down all the money. They did this thing. They thought they were going to this job, and now they're driving the train, or they're an iron worker, or they're doing something like that.
Yeah, but I think
interesting.
that technology is gonna be in everything.
Oh,
so,
yeah.
So the trade jobs, that's what I think the collars are gonna the blue collar, the white collar, they're just gonna go away, because it's gonna take someone with a certain level of expertise to come in. Like you see it in HVAC technicians right now. These things are complicated computers, right? So not only do you have to know how to run the ductwork, and you have to understand the laws of thermodynamics to make sure the thing, but you got to be a computer programmer too. But the thing is, you used to have to go to get a computer science degree to be a computer programmer. You don't now.
Yep.
You can take a course online, you can watch some YouTube videos, and you can go to a trade school, or just get maybe you take one computer programming course at the college level or whatever, and you are a highly, highly skilled technician that's going to be making a bunch of money, because you're installing these thermodynamic computer systems for houses and buildings. And so I think that eventually when they say, I want to go into the trades because I have to get all of this education in order to compete. And I mean, we see the same thing in framing, the structural connections and the lumber's changing and all of that kind of stuff. Like I know framers are rough and tumble kind of guys, but 20 years from now, they're going to be as technically, there's going to be some technology that's involved in something like framing. Things are going to be embedded in concrete that are going to require someone to talk to the machine. And that's what I'm telling my kids. My wife hates it when I say, I'm like, I don't care if they go to college. And I am not paying for them to go to college. And they're going to pull this podcast out, 20 years from now, Dad hated us or whatever. But I'm just going to say, if you get to be 18 years old, in my house anyway, I'm just speaking for myself. If you get to be 18 years old and you don't already have something that you're interested in, and think of it, then I've failed as a parent. And I'm just saying that to myself. So I told my son, for example, my oldest son, I said, hey, this business coach and what I do, I need somebody to help me with video content. Here's a computer. Go watch some YouTube videos and learn how to edit videos. I'll give you $20 a video, because I don't have time to, get to all of this kind of stuff, and go play around.
Yeah.
Because that will force you to learn computers.
Yeah.
It'll force you to research stuff, and you'll probably learn some graphical stuff and some computer programming. And then I also said, here's this computer that you can buy these computers, and the kids have to assemble them. It makes it a game.
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
And then you program it, and you earn points, and it teaches them computer programming.
Yeah.
And then I also said, he's playing the trumpet now. He's 12. I'm like, between those three things, music and technology and some kind of other creative sort of skill will come out. If you do that for 3 or 4 years, my guess is you're going to have a hobby or something.
Yeah.
And whatever you kind of gravitate towards, we're going to look at that and say, do you need to go to college to continue this? If not, then if college isn't required for you to pursue that thing, and I'm okay with that. And so that's kind of the way I'm approaching it.
I'm curious what you think about careers, like just in general, the idea of a career in your life. I mean, that was definitely the old mentality. You get out of high school or college, wherever you go to, and you settle into the thing that you do.
Yeah.
And then you retire.
Yeah.
And what is it? I don't know what the statistics are now, but
that's really the generational demographics. It's just so interesting to study that stuff, because it's funny. My family's coming here. We'll spend a few days, and we're going to go up to Seattle and see my grandfather. My grandfather worked at the Shell oil company at the refinery in Anacortes, Washington, his whole career. Like, he got out of went and fought a war, got out of the military, did that thing. And what they were looking for was security. They were looking for the gold watch, and he literally got the gold watch out of 20 or 30 years. The problem is, he has almost lived as long in retirement as he did during, however I said it. What he worked.
He's been retired for as long as he worked.
Yeah. And so that's just a different mentality. And so I think people are realizing, I can work a lot longer now if I do, and careers have just changed. I'm the worst person to ask that question, because I realized 10 years out of college, and I had 10 different jobs.
Yeah.
With a college degree, like 10, not hopping around like waiting tables or doing that, like 10 different firms or construction companies or whatever. And I thought that didn't bother me at all. I didn't even realize it until I went into interview, probably for my 11th job.
Yeah.
And the owner of the business looked at it, and I thought I had a ton of experience. That's what I was gaining. And he said, "Looks like you can't hold a job down."
Yeah.
And I was like, "No, what are you talking about? I have a lot of experience." He goes, "Yeah, I see that, but it doesn't look like you stay in one place very long."
Right.
And I thought, "Oh my gosh, I never viewed it like that."
Yeah.
But his generation was like, "Man, you jump around." But you look at Generation X. That was my generation. That's very typical of what happens for that generation. They said, if you want to make a Gen X happier, change his office and give him a new job title every year to year and a half. That's how you keep a Gen Xer. And I remember thinking that, and I'm like, oh my gosh, that's totally what I was doing. You know, and then I talked about that in the speech about understanding the generation that you're going to hire and train now, the millennials. That was kind of the last part of the speech there,
which is huge, and that's what everyone's facing, and it always turns into the same conversation. Millennials are lazy; they don't want to work. They don't understand hard work. They're distracted. They don't care about the quality. You know,
how did that?
They don't make them like they used to.
How did that? Yeah, how did that part of the speech came off? Because that was something I kind of put in the last couple times I've given this speech. I kind of set up saying, "Hey, society's wrong about contractors," and then we come around and say, "Hey, I know you think millennials are lazier, but what if you're wrong about them?"
I love that kind of stuff.
The way that society did that, because I was that was good. Okay,
was good.
Because I mean, I'm technically a millennial. I'm very much like the earliest year of it, but I'm definitely not like what I think other millennials are like. So I just don't think you can say it. You can't say that. I mean, you can't group them like that and say they're all like that, because look at the stuff that we have now.
What's the same thing? You can't group contractors like that too, because some people don't call them back. Yeah.
Right.
Some people don't call them back, and then we're at a trade show here where some of the best, like throw the construction business out, they're just some of the best run companies.
That's what I mean. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Like they've got it. They have a culture. They've got it. And they just happen to build homes.
Yeah.
Or whatever. So same thing. Same thing applies to the millennials. If you're like, well, I'm not like those millennials. I've got a good job, and you know, but then there's more like you.
Of course.
Yeah.
And I know more like me for sure. And it's I mean, we're in San Francisco and walking around here. It seems like the average age of the person on the street has got to be like in their 20s.
Yeah.
Like it's not. I mean, you know, obviously you go to Detroit, you go to New York City, you go to Chicago, whatever. It just feels like businessmen at those places. Here, it feels like the kids have taken over. Like, and there's, I mean, huge companies here. It's not. These are not small name companies. They're like the ones that are running your life are here.
Exactly.
And that's who's running them.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I wonder if it just comes down to you have to change the way that you interact with your employees. Like if you want, I mean, maybe you're not getting what you want out of a millennial because you're treating them like somebody else, and they don't think that way anymore. They're not. Yeah, it's a. Yeah,
I don't think it's you know, our parents didn't relate to us.
Oh, for sure.
You know, that generation didn't relate to this generation, and now we're struggling to relate to this younger generation. They're just different. And to your point, we got to understand that it's a different generation.
Yeah.
These are digital natives. They're very different, and you know, learning what they're all about and who they are. I actually think they're really smart.
Hugely.
Even if they are those things even if they are those stereotypes,
lazy, unmotivated, they're distracted.
They're still smart. Like when they really engage with you, they tend to be very smart.
Just take a look at how much school they're going through. I mean, the amount of studying going on for somebody who's in high school right now compared to what I did is ridiculous.
The other thing too is their ability to learn is completely different.
Yes,
because they've always had access to information.
Yes.
They, you know, you take somebody like me out of college, and I mean, well, I'm probably a bad example, but just the mentality of like, oh, you want me to read a book or get better, you got to pay me to do that.
Right.
These millennials the information has always been there, education has always been there, and they'll just go absorb this stuff because it's what they already do.
Yeah.
So if you get them passionate about your trade, I saw a quote one time that said, don't try to. As a business owner, don't try to motivate people. Hire motivated people.
Yeah.
So I think that there's a lot of validity to that. But developing that passion, getting someone that motivated, just point them in the right direction. They'll continue to do what they've done all of their lives, which is consume content, consume information, and educate themselves.
Yeah.
So So we're certainly in a time period now where the borders have dropped in terms of, well, I mean figuratively.
Yeah, it's a political
it's not a political show.
grenade you just tossed out there. I'm not jumping on that
It
one.
relates to your business. I mean, you're a business coach among other things that you do, but somebody in Alaska can hire you, and you're in Knoxville, Tennessee.
Yeah.
And so I think that's a really cool time that we're in, and we talked a little bit about that earlier today. Bookkeepers, you don't necessarily have to be an expert with your books. You don't necessarily have to have a secretary or administrative assistant who works with you. There's services that do that kind of thing. Hiring is another one. So can you talk a little bit about what you offer? I mean, because I would feel bad if we went through all this and we didn't point people to what they can get from you that's in more detail by going to your website and kind of how do you set yourself up to be completely remote and still get quality results with the contractors you work for?
Yeah, so I kind of developed 3 different areas of my business, and this is what you get when you hire me or we work together. One is coaching. Obviously, I spend a lot of personal time, one-on-one time with my clients. As my business has grown, I've had to figure out that's a very unscalable part of the business.
Yeah.
Right?
I notice you have a wait list.
Yeah. Well, we'll get into that in a minute. But so there's the coaching aspect, one-on-one time. There is content. That's another part, meaning I have an online course that guys and gals can walk through, construction business owners go through, and it's more like reference material.
Right.
So we can spend some time talking about that, but what I've been able to identify, things that are in the online course, a lot of times are big problems for contractors, but they're really symptoms of something else. So it's almost like the low-hanging fruit. That's what the online content is.
Right.
You can self-pace, walk through it. There's some worksheets. There's video content. It's kind of similar to what you would see if you saw me in a conference or a business seminar.
Right.
30 minutes, 45 minutes, and walking through that. So coaching, content, and then I've built an online community, a private Facebook group that all my clients are in, and that's a community. So that's the third leg of the stool. There is like, hey, there's contractors, subcontractors, there's some furniture makers, there's some very specific marketing folks in there, and other business leaders that I've kind of handpicked that aren't necessarily clients, and put them into this community and just ask a question. Hey, what are you guys paying for drywall out on the West Coast? What are your rates for your insurance? Or, man, just wanted to share with the group, I sold a new contract and we added this phrase, and whatever it is.
Sure.
Right?
I actually heard that conversation yesterday. How are you phrasing this ugly thing that I don't want to talk to my clients about? And 2 contractors were talking about it.
Yeah, and Nick and Johnny have talked about collaboration over competition. That's really what that group is for, is to be able to for builders all over. And once you're a client, you're in the community. Unless you're a total jerk, you just stay in there. So we work for 3 months or 6 months or a year, however long. Then you keep access to the online course and you keep access to the community, and so that's kind of the business model that I'm working in now. So people call me up, and if they decide we work together, then it's usually in like a 3-month program or a 6-month program or a 12-month program, and they have various different prices. And the coaching we do through video conferencing, and so I feel like I spend a lot of time with contractors going through the numbers. It's impossible to do numbers over the phone. That's why I was so worried today.
That's what I'm so curious about.
Yeah. So in a video conference, not only do we get to meet face to face, so I can meet with that builder in Alaska. We just got to get over the time difference thing. Yeah. Well, once we do that, we can meet, and the internet connection is good. We get to meet face to face. I can also pull up my screen, or you can share your screen, and I can pull up like a whiteboard or a spreadsheet, and let's talk about the numbers. Let's plug them in right here. And so one of my favorite things to do is when someone will send me, we'll be doing pricing strategy, they'll send me their numbers or profit and loss statement. So I just bring it up on a spreadsheet and I said, all right, let's build this thing from scratch. You can see these numbers. You can see where I'm getting them from, but let's do it correctly. And I'll show you how the math works. Build it in like a Google Doc that I share with them. They've got the video. It's recorded. We spend 45 minutes, an hour going over that particular thing.
Oh, so they can go back and watch it again.
Yeah.
To like replay your conversation.
Yeah, that's how
really interesting.
So that's one part of scaling is like once we go through that, boom, I upload it to a private video account or whatever, share a link to them.
Yeah.
And because again, I tell them, I'm your coach. I can't do this. I'm not going to do the work for you. I want you to do the work.
Right.
Right? I don't want to become an employee for you. That won't serve you. I want to teach you how to do it. So you get this recorded video, you get this shared spreadsheet, or whatever. And I just leverage technology in that way. So that's why I have some clients overseas, one in Sweden, several in Canada. That's not overseas. That when I got my first Canadian client, I was like, woohoo, international consultant, It's like when someone pays you $1 to speak, you can say, woohoo,
speaker.
I'm a professional speaker. But that's the model for my business right now. But I've got a book coming out, hopefully in November, if everything goes well. Profit First for Contractors, so it's a cash management system. That's going to lead to more speaking gigs and more clients specifically. So I'm working on a model where you can do more online content. You can purchase that from me in classes and seminars. And so I've been recording a lot of that content over the past 2 years to develop that. So that'll be some lower price stuff. Because, working with me one-on-one, it's not cheap.
Yeah.
Right.
But, again, I'm getting, I want to give you 10x the value.
Sure.
And I wouldn't be sitting here if I didn't have those kind of results with clients. But eventually, it's not scalable, all of that personal time. So I'm building content for courses, and then there'll be group coaching. Again, just leveraging that time and bringing people together and developing groups so I can coach multiple people at the same time.
A support group.
Yeah. And then there'll be a one-on-one coaching module after that. But that'll be for bigger companies that are really saying, okay, we got 20, 25 people. And I've been doing a lot of that too that I haven't really been putting out there because that's kind of private, is the executive coaching and the management coaching and that kind of stuff. So companies will bring me out and we'll work specifically with their managers or their teams or their employees and do specific training.
And so I think a lot of people are intimidated by the business end of things. So, do your clients range from, hey, Shawn, I don't even know how to make a P&L, and you want me to you want to analyze my profit and loss? I don't even know how to do that. Is that, are you like, oh man, here we go? Or is it, no problem, let's get started?
No problem. I say, okay, what do you want to make?
Yeah.
We just start there. That's all your profit and loss. If we can figure out what your time is worth, then we can build it up from there and say, it's very intimidating. I understand that for contractors and tradespeople. But I'm telling you, I'm going to say this, and someone's going to, you're going to know it right off your head because this is how your mind thinks. If you can do what I'm about to say, then you have much more ability to run your business than you even know. If you can add 1/8, 3/4, and 5/16 together, and you know what that is, that math right there, I don't even know what the answer to that is. But somebody out there does. I can't even, I would have to write it down.
Yeah.
But somebody out there knows what that answer is. If you know what that answer is just by thinking a little bit about it, that math is way more complicated than the math for your business.
Did you get 13/16?
I didn't do it.
I have no idea. Yeah, I need to write that and make sure I say the same number. So
1/8 and 3/4.
I don't even
7/8.
1/8. Yeah, 1/8, 3/4
to it.
Oh, yeah, I didn't get it right.
That's 7.
I forgot
7/8.
one of the
Yeah,
numbers.
it's the 5/16 that throws you off. So whatever
I forgot
that
one of
is.
the numbers.
I think it's over an inch. Whatever those.
It's
numbers
over
are.
an inch.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
guess I
But
shouldn't
anyway,
be running it.
It's 1 and 3/16.
But if you know it's over an inch, then that's where we'll start with your math, with the numbers. We'll just get it close right now. You don't have a P&L? That's all right. We know it's over an inch. Let's get close. You know? And we just break it down. We just break it down and say, hey, what do you need to make?
Shawn, I want to make over $1 million.
I love that. Great. Then I can tell you that right now. Then you need to bill out $19,523 every week for 52 weeks, and you'll hit $1 million. So
You knew that number.
How do we do that?
Hire this guy.
So, right? Well, no, that's just an example that I use when people say, okay, because you got to break that number down.
Yeah.
So it's about $20,000 every week. That's what we need to bill for. And it's a great example. That's a great that you said that, because it's like, all right, if we got to put $20,000 of work in place, how much work do we have to look at in order to get $20,000?
Yep.
Probably 3 times the amount. So if are we looking at $60,000 worth of work every week? And if we're looking at $60,000, what if we're looking at $80,000 on average? That means that we're probably going to do more than $1 million. So you start backing these numbers out. If you're looking at more than you can possibly do, guess what? You need to hire somebody. Well, how much can we afford to hire somebody? Just keep working the numbers. And when you know what those numbers are, because you can't, and this gets back to the speech, the hire, hope, and hang on. When you can predict when you're going to need somebody based on the actions that you're doing today. If you know what that number, and that math is not difficult, you just need to see how it all ties together. You can know that, hey, the trends are we're getting 20 calls a month. our average or the numbers that we need to make are 12 calls a month. We're exceeding that. I'm going to trust that these numbers are good, so I'm going to pull the trigger on hiring somebody now so I can have them trained by the time all this work hits.
Yeah.
Because we're good at 12 calls a month because that means we get 4 projects on the average price and we hit our numbers. Man, we're doing triple the amount of calls. So either our marketing is screwed up and really bad people are calling us that are never, but we can analyze that too. Does that make sense? So you're like, I want to do $1 million.
Yeah.
That's great. 20 grand a week. Let's do it.
Yeah, it's certainly possible. It's just here's what it takes.
Well, then break it down, and then but somebody that says that, like, oh, I want to do $1 million, then we'll get it to, in general, you might have a revenue per field employee of about $250,000. So you'll need about 4 people in the field. We might not be able to hit $1 million this year, but you and another person should be able to hit 500,000, and that's just what the coaching is. We're just going to walk through that, and a lot of times guys just don't even realize. And I said this all the time when people hire me, is I'm going to tell you to do things that you already know you should be doing. You're just not going to do them without somebody telling you. And they're like, you know what? You're absolutely right.
Oh yeah,
you're absolutely right. Like if I wanted 6-pack abs, I know what I need to do.
Yeah.
I need to eat less and do 1,000 sit-ups every day. I'm not going to do that.
Yeah.
But if I paid somebody, if you hire a trainer and be
they're
like,
going to tell you to do it.
He's going to be sitting at the gym, not doing any work. I'm going to show up. Maybe I'm doing it just out of spite because I paid the guy.
Yeah. Right.
But spite's a great motivation. Maybe. Yeah. But if and that's what it is. And my clients that have been very successful and gotten the results, it's not because I gave them some magic potion.
Right.
It's just a coaching model. We talk.
Yeah.
It's the accountability and it's just, hey, you want to do these things. Here's what you need to do. I'm not making this up. This is just what it takes to get here. But it all depends on what you want to do. I was talking to somebody last night at the Fine Homebuilding event at the Thirsty Bear, and he was like, oh, my dad, been trying. It's father and son, which is always very complicated. The son always wants the business to be doing better. The father's like, "What's wrong with the business?
Yeah.
This is how it's done." But he had asked me, so what would it look like if you come in, if you were to work with us or whatever? And I said, well, what do you and what's your dad want to do? Like, what's his goal? What are his goals? And he's like, I don't know.
Yeah.
So I can't help you. I can't help you at all because if there's no target out there, I want to help you dial in the sights. We're going to polish up the gun. We're going to pick the ammo. We're gonna put all of the things in place to hit the target. But if you guys don't know where the target is, I don't want to take your money.
Yeah, it seems like a lot of people just approach it as, well, obviously I want to make a lot of money. It's like, well, how much? Like, you want to make $1 million a year? We can map that out. You want to make 80 grand?
Yeah.
I can show you how to get there, right?
Well,
it's
what I hear more often than we want to make a bunch of money, because we're all craftsmen. You know what they're going to say is, well, not really. It's not really about the money for me. And I'm like, can't help you either, because what I say is like that's just a lack of confidence. If you're not in it for the money, then just run a business and make a bunch of it and then give it all away.
Right.
You'll be
that's not a business model.
Yeah.
It might be maybe noble, but it might be true. But it's
also,
not a business model.
But also to that guy that enjoys just being the one-man show, he doesn't want to run a company. I'm all about that too.
Exactly, yeah.
But I'm saying, so for that guy, just run your business, your single one-man shop business, like a business, and set some money aside so that when you're sick or that you want to retire, you can do that. And that's totally fine. And you can make a very, very good living for yourself. Because I've received some feedback and being like, oh, you're always just talking about, business and growing and blah, blah, blah. And there's a lot of people, we don't want to grow. We don't want to have a business.
Right.
We're happy being craftsmen. I'm like, absolutely.
Yep.
Do you have any money? Are you charging enough? Can you do some of these? You don't have to have every system in place. And if your wife does the books or whatever, that's fine.
Right.
I just want you to, when your body shuts down, or if something happens, your family and or your community. The other thing is like, what are you doing in the community? It's so important. I think that part of changing the way that society views the trades is you have these talented craftsmen that actually care a lot about people and they care a lot about quality. They just can't afford to take the time to pour back and give things to their community.
Yeah.
And I think that that's really sad too.
it can be on even you think community, think like making cabinets for the local yoga studio or something. But I was at a party recently, and there was this really cool timber frame picnic bench, but it was a kid-sized thing. It was just for the kids. A little tiny picnic table, but it was like this beautiful joinery. And I'm like, what's going on with this? And he said, oh, the guy up the street has a timber frame business, and he just made all these for the kids in the neighborhood. And I was just like, first you're like, that is so awesome. And then second, like, I don't do anything worthwhile. Like he just like, he's busy. It's not like, he's running a business. He's running a building business. He's busy, and he made time to like, and it was noticeable. And like, immediate reaction is like, yeah, I want to be around that guy. I want to. What's he all about?
And I'm not even talking about using your craft in the community. I'm saying like, hey, there's a fundraiser for the community center or whatever. We can give some money to that. And when you give money to those things, and you get invited to their special events, and then you're going to rub elbows with me. You're just, and I say this meaning you're just a carpenter, and you're standing there with the other donors. How is it that but you're just a carpenter? Yeah, because we're running a good business, we make a good living, and we'd like to give back to the community. Yeah. So you're standing next to the doctor or the lawyer or the accountant, right? That they're doing it for whatever reasons they're doing it for, but it just gives them a different. And I guarantee the doctor, the lawyer, and the accountant are going to be happy that they met a contractor or a carpenter or a craftsman or HVAC guy or or whatever. Now plumbers don't really count because all the plumbers I know have boats, so they're out on the lake this time of year. No, I'm kidding. If I had to do it all over again, I might go into plumbing. I said that in the speech. Like, there'll never be an app that unclogs a toilet.
All right.
Yeah.
Plumbers have got when
I find plumbing work to be pretty satisfying too. Yeah. I mean, it's.
I really, as I got on in the trades, I really became to respect the trades that get covered up by the wall.
Oh, yeah.
And when you walk in, electrical and the plumbing, and you're just like, oh, why do we have to cover that up?
Yeah.
It's so good.
If you could see.
If you had any idea.
Yeah. The artistry that's going on. I mean, electricians in particular are just so neat and fastidious.
Yeah, you had that picture of CJ and then boxed on the. I was like, oh, I'm keeping that on the top of the stack. That's
how you
work
wire
art.
a panel.
Yeah, that is exactly it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and if you don't think that's skilled, try.
No,
try uncoiling some.
I'll just I'll just take it. What I'll do in my next post, I won't even write a word. I'll just take a picture of my electrical panel,
right,
and CJ's electrical panel.
Yeah,
I didn't wire it. I'm just saying some hack did.
Yeah, or some just average.
Yeah. Here's the value. Here's the value of the trade. Those two pictures.
Yep.
Done.
Yeah.
Exactly. Well, thanks for spending some time sitting down.
Absolutely.
I'm sure you're starving and want to go get some lunch, so we'll let you go eat something. But, visit ShawnVanDyke.com. You can come on to findhomebuilding.com/podcast, and we'll have a video of your speech. People should understand you were having a little visual discrepancy.
Yeah, we had
some
technical
difficulties.
The
slideshow was acting up, but hang in there. It gets better. It gets fixed.
Yeah, eventually I think I will edit that down to take out all the awkwardness.
Yeah.
We can throw that video up there, and then just as long as you promise me when I get the edited thing where it doesn't look so.
Oh yeah, we'll
I
swap
was struggling.
it out.
We'll replace it.
Absolutely.
Oh, guys, that's not what I try to deliver on those experiences. If anybody's going to hire me for a speaker, they're like, "Oh, this is not."
No, and you can find Shawn's writing on our website too. He does frequent building related blog posts. Also, you've done a lot of other podcast appearances. I really liked what you did with Protractor Podcast with Martin Holsinger. That was really good for people to look up. Modern Craftsman, we had Johnny on here yesterday, so listeners know him. You did an interview with them recently, right? I haven't heard that one yet. Didn't you get on there? You were at JLC Live or something?
Yeah, JLC Live. Yeah. I can't remember. They all start to blur together.
You scared me for a second. I'm like, you did it, right?
Yeah, no, it's already out there. That one's out there. I did one earlier this year, Made for Profit.
Yep.
That one's out there, and Contractor Secret Weapon. That one, I did that one like months and months ago, and I was like, oh, I don't know if they ever put it out, but someone just like reposted it today on Instagram.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh yeah, I forgot I got that, and that was I bring that one up because it was we talked about solving the skills gap. And
So I mean, you listen to those podcasts, and we were talking in pretty general terms here, but you listen to some of those other podcasts where Shawn can get into a little more of the nitty gritty business things, and it's a pretty compelling case to have somebody on your team that is providing that for you because. I mean, I know for me, just listen. When I used to run things in the for my remodeling business, I didn't know what I didn't know. I was just, and it's embarrassing how little I knew about how to do it the right way. I approached it from, I like doing this stuff, and somebody wants to pay me for it, then that's it. Green light. I'm in.
Yeah.
But there's so much more to know, and it's really not. It's not scary. You know, once you actually dig in and just you understand like a little tidbit, and then you understand a little more, and just allow yourself to be new at it, just like anything else, and it's sort of, it gets exciting.
Yeah, the math, when you get, again, the math that we did earlier with the fractions, we'll have to go back and figure out what that actually was. But the math in your business, once you learn how to apply it, see, the math doesn't change.
Yeah.
It's always going to be the same. And when you realize that, and you're like, oh, these are my costs, this is what I need to make, then the confidence comes, and you're standing in front of a customer, and they say, well, you're too expensive. And you're like, no, I'm not. I know my numbers.
Right.
I know the math, and I'm not making it up. This isn't a good fit for us. We're going to walk away.
Right.
And when someone says, yeah, we'll hire you to do it, and you're like, yes, for the first time, I'm going to make my numbers, and I'm going to, and then that confidence builds, and it affects everything else in your business. And so that's why I was like, hey, the coaching, we get the math out of the way first, because it's not going to change. You're just going to reapply it. Everything else, market conditions, people, you got to hire people, trends and building materials, and how you apply all of that kind of stuff. Yeah, that's going to change constantly. That's where you need to put in a lot of work. The math, we can figure that out.
Right. Yeah.
And it's people say, I didn't go to business school.
Yeah, exactly.
Neither did I.
Yeah.
Just figured it out. Figured it out. And I'm not smart. I'm so, this probably isn't good marketing. I'm so dumb.
No, but you have a particular talent for simplifying things.
Yeah.
I mean, and that's what we pride ourselves at Fine Home Building, is we want to take the most complicated part of your house and pull it apart, expand it, lift the hood, and present it to you in a way that's like, it's all this is. It's this.
It's Occam's razor, right?
Yeah.
The best solution is usually the simplest one.
Yeah. Yeah. So
people are going to be like, Occam's razor, what the heck was that?
We appreciate you coming on.
Thank you.
Maybe sometime down the line, what we can do is we'll survey the audience, have them send in all of their business questions, and we can just choose, I don't know, we'll choose half a dozen, and we'll get you on the phone, and we'll just run through them as examples of frequently asked, can Shawn help me with this kind of a thing? And we can do some sort of recurring segment. It'll be fun.
Yeah, you have them submit their questions, and then I'll see how good I am at predicting what the top 6 questions are.
Yeah, you can probably just tell us what they are already.
Yeah. No, that would be actually kind of fun, being like, okay, where did this fall on the
ahead
list?
of time, you make your list of 6.
Yeah.
We'll have our list of 6, and we'll see if it matches up.
Yeah, that would be awesome.
All right, so visit finehomebuilding.com/podcast. Go to ShawnVanDyke.com. That's SHAWN. And in the meantime, keep craft alive and happy building.